And the truth of it is that artists often have no idea how to do business.
Right.
And frankly, if anyone watches this and this is your situation, I am happy to help anybody.
Lost in space, but that's okay. Climb aboard the brand spaceship today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Brand Spaceship. My name is Ryan Sheffer. That is producer Jared, and he used to be a rock star.
That is probably the most generous positioning of my status, of my former status in a guitar boy band.
Today, we talk origin stories.
You'll recall that in an early episode, we did a brief bit of my origin story where I came from, and I thought, you know what we need to do is give Ryan an origin story as well. So we got to talking about this a little bit last week, and there were a couple of interesting anecdotes that could be very helpful to people who are interested in the video production industry, understanding the inner workings.
I, for the longest time, didn't want to talk about these types of things. Not because for me, they're not true. Everyone does have an origin story. But generally speaking, the people around me who wanted to talk about those things were full of Rusty Brand, hold for it, shit. and honestly, success is in the eye of the beholder. Success can be not dying today. Success is how you define it. My promise today is to be very honest.
Great.
Positive and negative. Okay, so how did it all begin? This guy named Jason Russman. Jason Russman was on my cross-country team. And he's like, Sheffer, what are you doing in college? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to business school. And he's like, business? That's stupid. You like movies. And then he sat down. That's all that happened. That's all that happened.
What a story, Mark.
And I couldn't stop thinking about it. My parents were incredible. And I know at the time they just thought it was like not a good idea.
Are you high? You're huffing grass?
This is, I don't know. With social media, the internet, whatever, it's less so this. But I had this feeling that filmmakers were like princes and kings that were given the crown from the previous generation.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that you could interview for the job. I didn't know it was a job.
Was there a particular movie or filmmaker that made you realize that it was an accessible thing and possible for other people? Because I have one of those. Like,
okay, yeah. Independent film had become a big thing in the early 90s. And in about 2000, they started writing books about it. So I started reading all these books and I was like, holy shit, I guess you can do this. And I really just did it brute force, trial and error. And once I was in film school, I was obsessed with figuring out how it could be a job, because basically my dad would call me all the time and be like, hey, are you considering switching to business school? And I'd be like, oh no. I got a signal, I guess.
Excuse me, buddy.
From whatever you want to say. I believe that the universe sends you signals. Mine was that a lot of the people I saw didn't know how to use computers. Everything was going digital. And so the opportunity looked like computers. So I was obsessive.
Was there like a moment where there was a light bulb that went off that said to you, like, but I have the know-how to do all of this myself. So why don't I do everything myself? I
actually never thought that. What ended up happening that really led me to the journey of wanting to start my own business happened quite a few years into my career, where I've been working at one production company, Jack Kelly, who's a lovely man. The first time where there was so much consistent work that I was just constantly getting better at editing, constantly getting better at storytelling, and getting paid to do it. And I don't think Jack even knows this, but I ended up seeing a budget. I saw a whole budget.
That'll change your perspective real quick.
For a sizable project. And here's the thing. Jack was always fighting for me, but we all are on a path of learning how the world works. And I just didn't know how big these budgets were at all. So one day I get in my inbox accidentally. They thought they had sent me one file. They sent me a different file. Like, I knew enough about what Jack was making that I was like, hold on. There's this chasm of money that's neither of us. And the only solution would be like, it's the individual who owns the company, right? And that made me think about things differently. So I see this and I go, I have to figure out how to do this. But what ended up happening was I had a bunch of work coming in for editors, but I didn't understand how to distribute that work or figure out how to move money around to give it to other people besides myself so that they could do that work. And then I'd take a percentage. And it literally pushed me to so much stress that I quit working as an editor. I had a little break where I ended up teaching myself to write software and going this route of creating technology. And all that ended up happening was that my technology didn't go much of anywhere, but it taught me a lot about business. All these things that you need to know to figure out how to grow any business, I had a bit of a crash course in for a few years. The last few years of my 20s were about me trying on software and realizing it wasn't for me. I always wanted to be a filmmaker. That's what I want to be.
To be or not to be?
It's not gonna
But
happen for you.
I had to learn the business stuff so I could come back to that and figure out, once I have more work than I personally can do, here's how I'm going to hand it off to different people. And the truth of it is that artists often have no idea how to do business. I feel like there's a belief from some people that many people who find success had this person. They just told them the secrets, and there was like,
Yeah, everybody's looking for somebody
like
to
it's
just
just
give
like,
it to
yeah,
them.
and then they got told what to do. It's like,
Yeah.
all I did was I went broke over and over and over again.
Heard you're having money problems.
Mile 80 is my 7th company. Every time I went broke, I just learned more than I'd learned while I was making some cash. So I don't know if that sounds fun to anyone, but that's the only path I found, was like severe failure leading to an understanding of one little piece of the puzzle.
There's a big difference between somebody who wants to be a filmmaker, has a one-track mind, and says, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not taking this opportunity because it is not a clear step towards my end goal, which is to make a movie. Somebody who saw the opportunity for technology and learning how to edit. There's something here around using the opportunities as they come to you as a springboard.
One of the things I always speak to is the fact that you don't immediately get to do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
But you probably can find the lesson you need to learn in it if you just focus on that, right? It's like, this is a great opportunity to test my editing skills as a director. This is a great opportunity for me to test working with actors, working with certain equipment. Go find the opportunities wherever they exist. If you're a filmmaker and you're starting out, here's what I would say. Figure out who has money to pay you to be a filmmaker. It doesn't matter what it is. Figure out how you can do that stupid video you don't want to do, which is a bar mitzvah video. That was my first project I ever got, by the way. Go do the bar mitzvah video. When you take all the photos of this child, you're going to figure out the best way to animate photos. Are you looking for the facial expressions to get an emotion? Or is it actually about like showing a linear story? Like you're putting together the 3 shots of them at the park. You know, find your own storytelling expression in anything you have to create. The caveat here,
Hey, video boy.
is when your client tells you it's shit,
See?
which they will because they don't know what you're trying to do and you are servicing them. This is my opinion. The first cut is yours. You get to make what you want, and then you have to not let your ego get hurt when they inevitably tell you, oh, you forgot, this is ours. And then you do what they want. And that is the way I've done it every step of the way, told that to our whole team up until the highest levels. But if you don't figure out how to service yourself creatively on any projects, you'll lose your hunger, you'll lose your love for the art that started the energy towards becoming a filmmaker. And I think this applies to anything, whether it's music, it's painting.
What I hear is, in every opportunity is a chance to hone your craft and work towards your own creative goal. It's just about the perspective that you take on. If you view opportunities that are not directly what you had envisioned on your journey, if you view them as roadblocks, once I get through this, I can start worrying about what, my passion, what I want to become. This is just a distraction for now that I have to get past. Then you're never going to be equipped to fulfill your goal.
Oh, do you think you're too good for this? Is that a Kubrick?
No one cares about your artistic expression except for you until you find a way to show them something they'll care about. The truth is, you have to find the smallest sliver of what it is you want to do and use it for as much as you possibly can. The caveat I will put on this is you have to always ask yourself one other thing, which is, does it make you money or does it make you happy? And if the answer is no to both of those things, you don't do it. And here's the thing. It could be a low-paying job at the beginning, but you're figuring out how to be happy getting it because, oh my God, it's my first time editing. I'm going to learn about storytelling, etc. So as we do grow and we take on projects, yes, take on the tiny project, figure out who has money, go do it and get better and better and better at the skill. The last thing I will say about this is that the highest points of growth come at the points of maximum security for me. And I believe that this is common. I used to think I was weird because I was like, no, I need to feel really comfortable in order to be creative.
Yeah.
And a lot of people be like, no, 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 you need to be like f***ed up and dark and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe, but you still have to have the space and the time to create. And then I read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, and I realized like he'd made a whole career just convincing people this was true. Find your place of comfort and your maximum expression will come through. There's nothing negative about assuming that distractions breed problems in your own creative expression. I keep saying, this is the last thing. This is the last thing. I'm going to just go real philosophical with this. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's like get your food, get your shelter, get your human exchange. Self-expression, self-actualization, I think is the peak. Who am I? Who are my people? How do I feel comfortable on a day-to-day basis? You find that, then you get to go and learn, because now all of a sudden you're not worrying about who you are, what you're doing, who you should be with. Now you're learning. The cognitive growth is happening. Then aesthetic, that's your style. You're defining your style. What do you want to do? You figure out what it is on the knowledge graph that you're interested in. Here's the spin I put on it. And then you get to self-actualization. I'm going to make that happen. It's at the top. The idea that we're going to create before we know anything, before we figured out who we are, is it impossible? No, but it seems super unlikely. The cognitive thing for me was always actually, I was focused on that, right? But it took me figuring out those other ones before I could have any sort of style or aesthetic or who I was. What did I want to say, right? And you have to get there before you can reach that last step, that self-actualization. Filmmaking is my expression. Your expression could be building a business. But my guess is the same thing becomes true. The more stable you are, the more you understand about yourself and where you should be in this world, the better you're going to be at that expression. Business, painting, music, etc. You have anything to tag onto that?
I feel light. I feel like, I don't know what it was about our conversation, but I feel a burden lifted.
Good, and it's gone. And so I want to finish this video a little different. I realize I'm stuck in space and I'm waxing philosophical, but we're going to put this video up there. The creativity video.
They went through a phase of years
from Ira Glass. So we're going to play that video. But before that video starts, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you lasted this long, just know that a part of my process of spending 20 years to get where I am now, where I just feel like I'm at the beginning of my career, is a real love and a belief in everyone's ability to find their path forward. I really hope you succeed at whatever you want.
So do I. Go you.
Beide Positionen. Vielleicht richtig vorgefährlich für den Liga, wenn ich ehrlich bin. Ein ganz tolles Gespräch.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap, that for the first couple years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just like say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste, they could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you gotta know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week or every month you know you're going to finish one story. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you're actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay?
Beide Positionen. Vielleicht richtig vorgefährlich für den Liga, wenn ich ehrlich bin. Also da muss ich noch dran arbeiten.